What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by Jackson Dart is my co-host, apparently, for today. No, Alex, his Wi-Fi's too cooked, but you got me for the next hour or so, and I'm happy to be back, man. Listen, we haven't live streamed in about a week or so, maybe a little bit longer than a week. I took my nice vacation. This is the off season for the Giants, so this was the best time of the year for me to do it. And I had a really wonderful time over in England, flew across the pond to go visit a very close friend of mine. Shout out to you, Cameron Simpson, because you're probably in here watching this anyway, but had a great time over the last week and some change over in England. Saw many different sites and many different beautiful cities. It's a beautiful country. If you haven't been, I absolutely do recommend it, and I'm looking forward to going back next year. But for now, we've got some Giants to talk about, don't we? Yeah, we do. We got a lot to talk about with the New York Giants. And hey, shout out to everybody who's already in here. I see a lot of you are filling in. 56 of you tuned in right now. Shout out Lawrence Taylor. But we got Rescue Ops saying we're back LFG. Yes, sir. We got Spaz for Sev saying Giants Nation, we hear dark days are officially over and the light is getting brighter. Agreed. I do agree. Kyle, good afternoon, my friend. Colton, what's up? What's up? Sean, what's up? Back from the pond. Yes, I am. I did not get to see Stonehenge, though, unfortunately, but I did see Windsor Castle, which was pretty beautiful. Went over to London, saw Buckingham Palace, saw the Big Ben, saw a whole bunch of things. Went to Cambridge, had a really great time. Christopher's saying, come on, baby. Yes, sir. Come on, baby. All right. So before we dive into the topic of discussion for today's episode, you guys want a Scatterboo, don't you? You guys have probably been waiting. It's been about a week. I'm sure that you're a little Scatterboo deprived. When I was recording over in England, I couldn't really be too loud, couldn't scream Scatterboo too loudly. But hey, I'm back home. If you guys want a Scatterboo, you type Scatterboo in the chat, and you're going to get hit with a nice big Scatterboo. Thomas, merch on the way soon. Now that I'm back from my vacation, we're going to figure everything out, getting the stickers to send out to all of you guys as well. The merch shop is live. Go get some merch on the site if you want some, but we're going to be doing giveaways and stuff in the upcoming live stream. Just had to get back from England, and now that I'm back at home base, we got everything going. Carmelo saying, what's up, Carmelo? Somebody wants a Scatterboo. Yes, it was a beautiful stat. Somebody else wants a Scatterboo. Someone else wants a Scatterboo. Someone else wants a Scatterboo. Let's belt out a Scatterboo! There we go. Let's do this thing, boys. Let's get ready to talk some New York Giants. And if you haven't seen it, we're going to be talking about the quarterbacks today. Scatterboo, of course, will come up in the discussion. I'm sure you guys are going to have questions for me, and we're going to be interacting with the chat. But the number thing that I want to talk about is just the revamping of this quarterback room. I mean, I got to pull this up. Listen, I wrote an article this morning talking about how the Giants revamped the quarterback room. And let me just read this off to you, the night and day difference between this quarterback room and last year's quarterback room. I mean, all right, let's scroll back to 2023. This was the New York Giants quarterback room. Daniel Jones, Tyrod Taylor, and Tommy DeVito. 2024, Daniel Jones, Drew Lock, Tommy DeVito, and Tim Boyle. But now this year, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, Tommy DeVito, and Jackson Dart. Like, that's how you overhaul not just a quarterback room, not just an offense, but really a roster and a football team. That's how you do it. I mean, this is such a monumental, massive step in the right direction for the New York Giants. I get so excited just sitting here thinking about it, right? Like, I sit and I'm thinking, man, Russell Wilson throwing deep to Neighbors. Can't wait to actually see. You know what's crazy? Like, Neighbors, as great as he was last year, he didn't have many, or if any at all, breakaway deep touchdown receptions, right? Like, let's think back to Odell Beckham Jr. when he burst onto the scene. Of course, Neighbors broke a lot of his rookie receiving records, but think about how explosive Odell was as a rookie, where let's think about even that game against the Patriots. I think that was his second or third season, but regardless, remember when Eli Manning threw that deep ball down the sideline? It was like the first play from offense that the Giants had in that game. Deep ball down the sideline. OBJ just catches it and takes off 80-yard touchdown because it was such a perfect ball between two defenders. It gets a cover two, and it was in stride, right? Like a deep pass that was just so accurate. And Odell being so fast and so athletic just catches it, gets under it, and boom, he's gone to the house. We didn't see many, or if any, of those plays from Neighbors last year, but we know that he has the ability. If you watched him at LSU, I mean, he was the best deep receiving threat in the country in 2023. He had more deep receiving yards and deep receiving touchdowns and deep receptions than anybody in NCAA. So it's kind of amazing to me, and not in a good way, that the Giants just failed to get him those deep balls in stride. And it really is a result of the quarterback position. But now that we have a quarterback in Russell Wilson, historically one of, if not the best deep ball passer in NFL history, definitely one of the best. And then Jameis Winston, it's not like he's bad at throwing the deep ball either. He's pretty damn good at it. Yeah, he throws it maybe a little too often, throws some picks in the process, but he could throw the ball deep. And then you've got Jackson Dart, a rookie developing behind the scenes, who's known for his deep passing accuracy. So I say all this to say, like Malik Neighbors, as great as he was as a rookie, I think there's a lot of room for improvement. I just think that he wasn't maximized properly because the quarterback position, let's face it, couldn't hit him in stride when passing downfield. But now, moving forward in 2025, I think the Giants really focused in on that aspect of the quarterback position, the ability to throw the ball deep, the ability to pass with accuracy and timing on those deep routes. And that's the reason that they went after Russell Wilson. That's the reason they added Jameis Winston. And that is the reason that they went ahead and prioritized Jackson Dart in the NFL draft. So I think Malik Neighbors is going to take a big step forward this season. I know it's crazy for some people to hear because he was so good last season. But think about the fact that he only had 7 receptions, 20 plus yards downfield, still put up 20 plus or 1,200 plus receiving yards. Now think about the fact that he's probably going to double that total from 7 to probably 14, maybe even higher, maybe triple that total, get a whole lot more deep passes, and that's going to result in a lot more yards and a lot more explosive plays and touchdowns. So hopefully a competent offense that we can watch for the New York Giants this season. So really excited for it. We got a big scataboo in the chat from our boy Sean Cyborgatron. Joe saying, I'm already using Scataboo in Madden 25, and every time I get a touchdown, I yell Scataboo, all because of me. That's awesome, Joe. And best believe when we are doing game live streams this season, because if you missed that announcement during the NFL draft, this upcoming season, not only will we be doing pre or post game live streams, I'm going to be watching a lot of the games live on the channel this year. And you best believe when Scataboo rumbles and stumbles and bumbles his way into the end zone, oh man, those Scataboos are going to be loud. They're going to be fierce, and they're going to ring through the hallways of my home. So I'm very excited for the big Scataboos this season. What's up, Sam? Good to see you. Dart getting some good reviews from previous QBs. Dorn Orlovsky loves Dart, potential and his pocket presence. Yes, absolutely. I mean, listen, Dart's a quarterback's quarterback, right? Like he's got a lot of that Baker Mayfield to him where, you know, players love him because he plays with a chip on his shoulder. He's not afraid to put that shoulder down, get chippy, get in the face of a defender. So he's got that Baker Mayfield vibe to him in many ways. And he's also cool off the field. He's not a wooden plank as somebody else that we know. He's got good personality. He's young. He's got energy. What's not to like with Jackson Dart? And then when you actually watch him play, well, he throws accurately, he runs, he's got the deep ball, he's got arm strength, he's really got it all. And now it's just about developing those talents and putting it all together for him and making sure that he's able to take his game to the next level under Brian Daboll. So I think he's a quarterback's quarterback. That's why a lot of quarterbacks are praising him. And that's why I see so much potential in Jackson Dart, especially being coached underneath our guy Brian Daboll, who I do have a pretty high level of confidence in, despite our struggles the last 2 seasons. Sam, thank you so much for the super chat saying, am I going to miss the fresh Guinness? Absolutely. People always say that this is my first time in England, but people have said to me in the past, well, you got to go to England and you got to have Guinness over there. And I'm like, well, I've had Guinness. I love Guinness. I've had plenty of Guinness. And they're like, yeah, but it's different over there. And you know what? I was like, it's probably BS, but it's different over there. It tastes different. It tastes better. It's a lot smoother. It's fantastic. I had too many Guinnesses to count during my trip to England, and I am definitely looking forward to next year to have a few more Guinnesses in the tank. But Sam, thank you so much for the super chat, and your super chat gets a scataboo. That's going to be a new thing. Anytime you guys drop super chats, I'm going to scataboo, and it's going to get a lot of fun during the season. That's for sure. Mike, what's up, Mike? How you doing? Good to see you back in here for another FSG live stream. Also, here's an update for you all, the daily Fireside Giants and loyal Fireside Giants viewers that are here. I think we're going to be formulating a schedule upcoming for Fireside Giants content. This is something I've been working on and hopefully implementing over the course of the next couple of weeks. But essentially, the daily live streams are going to be scheduled. Like you're going to know every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, I think, is going to be the schedule, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. That's for the offseason, that is. And we're going to be really ramping up members-only videos. We have a lot of new members, and we want to reward all of you who have decided to pay for a membership for the channel. So we want to be better at rewarding you all. So we're going to be publishing a lot more members-only videos. They will eventually go public for all, but they're going to start out as members videos. So you're going to get early access to the content for Fireside Giants, and we're going to implement different ways to get you guys involved on the live streams as well. So stay tuned. We're going to have more of an updated and clearer schedule on the FSG channel. And so, yeah, that'll be presented over the next couple of weeks as we formulate it and pin it down to a T and make sure that we're optimizing it for you all. Because I know that it's convenient, especially with so many of you being international viewers in different time zones, to know exactly when we're going to be live, for how long we're going to be live, when our videos are published, and all of that fun stuff. So we're going to come up with a good schedule for the off season of content, but then we'll probably readjust it and go from there once the regular season rolls back around. And as I said, Sunday live streams are going to be a big part of the channel moving forward. We're going to have a ton of fun doing live streams during the Giants game. So really excited for that, but short intermission to the conversation to bring that up. But thank you all for who have been supported us for so long. Tons of viewership lately. It's been on the rise, and can't thank you guys enough, especially coming off of the heels of the NFL draft. So thank you. All right, so we got a chat here that I found interesting from Colton saying, what's the possibility of Wan'Dale being more of a downfield threat in the mid to deep level? You know, I like that you bring up that question. I'll go ahead and share my screen here for a moment, because there was a video that went viral. It was originally posted by the Giants. It was reposted by this guy at Anthony_Rivardo on Twitter. Go ahead and give him a follow if you so choose. But let me go ahead and pull this video up, because this went around and a lot of people had some takeaways from it. And essentially, we're seeing Wan'Dale Robinson running deep downfield, catching a pass from Russell Wilson, which is something that we haven't seen much of, if any at all, from Wan'Dale Robinson, right? Because, oh, wow, I didn't realize that I was like fully behind Jackson Dart. Let me, my bad, guys. Let me go ahead and stop sharing the screen. But as you can all see in the video, that's Wan'Dale Robinson going deep, catching a pass in stride from Russell Wilson. And of course, I went ahead and captioned that and said, what did I say exactly? A quarterback who could throw the deep ball and hit receivers in stride, I could cry tears of joy. Absolutely, I could. And I mean that because, listen, it's been so long since the Giants have had a quarterback hitting receivers in stride 50 yards downfield, as we were just saying earlier, of course, with our guy Malik Neighbors and comparing him to Odell. Like, we haven't seen those in stride deep passes. So, yeah, I do think we see Wan'Dale utilize a little bit more downfield in the mid to deep level. I still don't think he's ever going to be some sort of an elite deep threat or some sort of guy who consistently takes the top off of defenses, mainly because of his size. He is a short receiver, and so he's a smaller target. But I do think he's been underutilized in that regard, because he's shifty, he's a good route runner, he's fast. All of those things are 100% true. And so I think we're going to see more of that. People are really quick to forget the fact that Tommy DeVito managed to hit Wan'Dale Robinson on a deep pass. I don't know if Daniel Jones ever hit him on a ball 20-plus yards downfield in the 2-3 seasons, whatever they did play together. But Tommy DeVito on that Friday or Sunday night game versus the Packers, that primetime win that the Giants earned with DeVito starting, there was a flea flicker play, and Tommy DeVito hit Wan'Dale Robinson on about a 30-yard pass, and he went up there and made a big catch. So I think he's got the ability to do it. He's talented enough to do it, and he's a really good player. He just hasn't been utilized in his complete breadth of his skill set because of the lack of quarterback play or competent quarterback play that the New York Giants have had. So not only do I think Wan'Dale is going to become more of a deep threat or downfield threat, because I wouldn't call him a deep threat, but I think all of these receivers are going to be a lot more explosive and get a lot more targets downfield. I was doing some digging on these stats today, and let me find, what did I have on Daniel Jones comparing him to Russell Wilson? This is pretty eye-opening. I think a lot of you are going to find this pretty interesting. So I'll read these 3 paragraphs. They're short, they're quick, but I'll get through them, read them off to you, and try and take note of the stats here as we compare Russell Wilson and Daniel Jones, because I think it's going to be pretty eye-opening. In 2024, Wilson was remarkable in throwing the deep ball. He was Pro Football Focus's highest graded passer in 20-plus yard throws, earning a 97.3 deep passing grade. He threw 50 passes, 20-plus yards downfield in only 11 starts, completing 27 of those, 54%, for 851 yards, 8 touchdowns with 2 interceptions. PFF credited him with 21 big-time throws and only 1 turnover-worthy play on his 50 deep passing attempts. So those are some incredible statistics for a guy who started only 11 games and was washed last year. Now, comparatively, Daniel Jones threw the ball 20-plus yards downfield only 31 times in 10 starts. That's 19 less times, despite playing only 1 less game, completing 8 of those attempts, 25%. So we're talking about 54% for Russell Wilson, all the way down to 25% for Daniel Jones for 266 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception, 7 big-time throws, and 3 turnover-worthy plays. So that's just last season's comparison of struggle at the quarterback position from Daniel Jones compared to thriving while throwing the deep ball, Russell Wilson with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But let's take it a step further. Even Jones's best season throwing the deep ball of his career is a far cry from Russell Wilson's 2024 season. We're talking about 2020 for Daniel Jones. Yes, 5 years ago, Jones had his best season throwing the ball downfield, completing 20 passes on 43 attempts in 14 starts for 652 yards and 6 touchdowns. We are talking about 14 total games and 43 passing attempts. Last year, Russell Wilson played only 11 games, had 50 passing attempts, a 54 completion rate for Russell Wilson compared to a 25% completion rate last year from Daniel Jones on 20-plus yard throws. So I did a lot of research on this topic this morning because I thought it'd be relevant to bring up in today's episode. And I'm glad that I was able to work it into the discussion thanks to a great question here from Colton. I mean, this is going to be a night and day difference. Like we've said, the stats, they don't lie in this instance. And the film doesn't lie either. Daniel Jones didn't look downfield. Like he would read it low to high rather than high to low. Russell Wilson knows where the deep ball is going to be. He reads high and then he comes back low and he hits those deep passes at an insanely consistent rate because he is so aggressive and so accurate when throwing downfield. So not only do I think Wan'Dale is going to get more targets downfield, Hyatt, Neighbors, Slayton, everybody should benefit from the immense upgrade in deep passing ability at the quarterback position. So thought those were relevant stats. Again, thank you, Colton, for a good question. And so I'm excited. Sean saying, smash the likes. Yes, sir. Please, everybody, if you are enjoying. It's like the easiest thing you could do. You just press the little thumbs up button. It helps the channel so much. Like, seriously, the way that the YouTube algorithm and everything works, comments, likes, stuff like that really helps. Shares as well. Just smashing the like. It takes you 1 second. Just scroll down, click, scroll right back up, see my beautiful face again. It's very, very easy, and it really does help the channel. So, Sean, thank you. Shout out to you, and shout out to everybody who is leaving a like on today's live stream. And honestly, shout out to everybody who's tuned in. We've got 236 people viewing right now. Mike G, thank you so much for the super chat, and your super chat gets us at a boo. Not sure if this was asked, but will the Giants sign a veteran wide receiver like Keenan Allen or Amari Cooper? Feels thin at wide receiver right now. I don't think that they will, and it's not because they have enough talent or they're thick at receiver, so to speak, or they have plenty of depth. They are a little bit thin, you're right. However, they're really, really thin on salary cap space. Like they're very tight with their finances right now. According to Over the Cap, let me go ahead and bring up the official number so I get it right. The Giants have $1,103,422 in cap space, 1.1 million. And in effective cap space, they're even worse. They have the least cap space in the NFL, and they have a negative $9.3 million in effective cap space, which is the cap space a team will have after signing at least 51 players and its projected rookie class to its roster. So the Giants, not only can they not really sign anybody, they're going to have to cut a lot of players and restructure contracts just to maintain the roster that they currently have. So I don't see them bringing in a veteran like Keenan Allen or Amari Cooper. I think they're going to have to roll with what they got and hope that the thinness of this wide receiver core, so to speak, doesn't appear that way on the field because of their strong quarterback play. That's essentially what they're banking on. Can the quarterbacks play well enough to make the receivers, to elevate the receivers and have them play at a higher level? That's what we're hoping to see. You and me both, Sean. I really hope to see Jalen Hyatt actually get some deep receptions. Reggie, welcome back from across the pond. Thank you so much, Reggie. Listen, I can't say it enough. Like, I had a blast over in England. If you haven't been, I can't recommend it enough. And what I'll say is this. A lot of people here in the States, in America, say that England has crappy food, not good food. That's a total lie. That's American propaganda. It's false. Like, I had so much good food over in England, like incredible cuisine. And The reason being because it's kind of like New York in the way where New York's this big central hub and city. It's so international. There's so many great immigrants in the New York City area. So there's all these different cultures of food and cuisines that you can try. And England/London, especially, are very similar in that way. So I had a lot of really good Italian food. I had some great ramen, Japanese food, like really great stuff. And of course, traditional English Sunday roast was fantastic. So that's what I really got to say I was surprised by. Like I knew the views and the sights and the scenes would be beautiful, but the food was really, really good in England, which kind of surprised me again because of the connotation that it has over here stateside. So very enjoyable stuff. Ricky Rodriguez saying, I'm going to do Amazon Flex delivery, and I was watching Fireside Giants from my car Bluetooth. I pull up to this house at 9:30 p.m. My boy Anthony, the moment I pull to the house, screamed Scattaboo. That's awesome. I hope that all of the neighbors in that surrounding area heard the Scattaboo and joined in. Scattaboo! I like that I'm becoming known as the Scattaboo guy. This is like really fun for me. I think this is going to be a blast during the season, just screaming Scattaboo for all the touchdowns, and I'm really glad you all have so much fun with it. So that's a funny story. I like that. Reggie, I saw something about TJ Moore. I'm going to be honest, I haven't dug into him too deep. Yesterday, I was doing a 20-hour travel day. I got up at 6 a.m. England time, which of course is 1 a.m. Eastern time, and I didn't make it home until midnight Eastern time. So a near 24-hour travel experience for me. So I didn't even get a chance to look into TJ Moore just yet, but I'll do that today, probably tonight, and over the coming days, continue to dive into that undrafted class and give you guys more updates and opinions on that as we get through the week. So Sean saying, I truly think Hyatt never got a chance to show why they drafted him with the inabilities of our quarterbacks to get it downfield to him. And Sean following that up saying, Hyatt, breakout player of the year for the Giants this year. Listen, Sean, I agree with you. They haven't gotten a chance to kind of show his abilities and show why they drafted him. And you know who else agrees with you? And this is really important. Russell Wilson, during his intro press conference, listed off a whole bunch of Giants players he's excited to play with. He named Theo Johnson as one of them, and he also named Jalen Hyatt as a player who he thought has gone untapped within his potential through the first 2 seasons of his career, and I think it's hard to disagree with him. I mean, the guy was the Fred Biletnikoff winner in 2022, meaning he was the best wide receiver in college football that season. He stepped into the NFL with a lot of speed and a lot of ability to make some plays downfield, but the Giants have not had a quarterback who's willing to throw more than 43 passes downfield in a single season. I mean, listen, let's put those stats. Remember, I said all those stats. Jones, best season, only threw 43 deep passes. Russell Wilson in 11 games threw 50 last year, so we can already tell the difference. But I mean, Eli Manning in 2011 threw 122 deep 20-plus yard passes. Think about that. Like, what we used to watch with a quarterback that was an absolute gunslinger, constantly pushing the ball downfield versus what we've gotten the past 6 years, kind of depressing. So you're right. Like, we haven't seen Hyatt get a chance to show his stuff, but with Russell Wilson, a guy who's absolutely willing to throw the ball downfield, hopefully this year, and a guy who believes in Hyatt, hopefully we do get a chance to see Hyatt break out. And it's kind of do or die now entering year 3 of his career. So let's hope we see it. Colton saying, would you take the over or under on the Giants secondary getting 15 picks? I think I'd probably go ahead and take the under, unfortunately, not because I don't believe in the secondary. I think they got a lot better. But what I will say is I think the Giants are going to have a lot of sacks this year. So, yeah, there's going to be some errant throws and they're going to force interceptions because of the pass rush. But I think these guys are going to complete the job. Like, I think Carter's going to get a bunch of sacks. Burns is going to get sacks. And so I think a lot of these moments where maybe they could be interceptions, they end up being sacks instead. So I'll go less than 15, but still I think there's going to be more than there were last year because last year was a complete embarrassment in that category. Ricky's saying, I'm so excited for this quarterback arsenal that we have, specifically Dart. Dude, I am so excited for Jackson Dart. Like, every clip that I see of him just gets me more pumped about this kid being on the New York Giants. Love the pick at 25 and really excited for his future with the Giants. Ted, glad to see you back in the live stream with me. Thank you very much. Who do we truly think is starting at right guard? I got to be honest. I think that truly starting at right guard will be Greg Van Roten for the first half of the season before eventually one of Marcus Bowe or Evan Neal will take over. That's what I think is going to happen. But I think Greg Van Roten proved last year that he's smart, tough, dependable, the 3 terms that the New York Giants love and really value. He's got those traits to a T. He started all 17 games for the Giants last year at 2 positions. So that versatility and that dependability is what the Giants seek on the offensive line. So I do believe Greg Van Roten will be the starter in week 1. We'll just see if he maintains that job, because if Bo looks really good in practice, he absolutely will be called into the starting lineup, especially if the Giants offensive line is kind of struggling a little bit. I think I already brought this one up, but you added here going to ball this season. I hope so. Which of the undrafted wide receivers do you think make the roster, if any? I think people are really sleeping on Juice Wells. I like Juice Wells, but if I had to pick one who I think is going to make the roster, it would be Bo Collins, because Bo Collins has some special teams experience. He's played a little bit of gunner, if I'm not mistaken. So that's the Notre Dame receiver, tall, 6'3", big body. I think that he's probably the one who makes it just because of special teams experience. I believe he does have that. Reggie says, that's awesome. I'm not exactly sure which aspect of my many speeches that I've gone on was so awesome, but thank you, Reggie. You're awesome. JW saying, I think our wide receiver core is pretty solid. I wonder if we'll use 2 tight end sets more, though, since we have Theo, Bellinger, and Fidoni unproven, though. You know what? On this note, yes, I do think the Giants are going to run more 2 tight end sets, 12 personnel, because Brian Daboll has always really favored that personnel package, just hasn't had the talent to run it here with the Giants so much. But on this note, Daniel Bellinger, as we were saying earlier, the Giants are really tight on cap space. And I hate to bring this up, but Daniel Bellinger is going to become a cut candidate later this summer, because if the Giants do release him, they'll save $3.4 million against the cap space. I'm not advocating for releasing him because I really like Bellinger and I think he's talented. I think he flashed a lot as a rookie that the Giants just kind of underutilized the subsequent 2 seasons that he's had in his career. So I like Bellinger, and I like the fact that the Giants have a little bit of depth at tight ends now, but that $3.4 million is kind of a substantial amount for a team that's got $1 million in cap space left and $9 million over in effective cap space. So I do think the Giants are going to run more 2 tight end sets. I think Bellinger has a good chance of staying, but I do think that release, that the cap savings could come into play later during training camp, especially if the Giants do want to make some sort of roster move. He might be, unfortunately, a cap casualty. But Fidoni, that's a player that I think a lot of people are sleeping on. We actually haven't discussed him enough on the channel, I don't think, and we will discuss him more, absolutely, because this is a player that coming out of high school had incredible buzz. Like, he was supposed to be the best tight end in that recruiting class, was ranked ahead of Brock Bowers. Guy is talented. Guy's got a lot of game to him. He just struggled with a lot of injuries, tore his ACL as a freshman, then retore it several months later, missed basically 2 years of football. And so he's behind on his development. And obviously that's a red flag. How much can he grow after those injuries? But honestly, I think that in this offense with a quarterback like Russ, with a coach like Daboll, perhaps he could be that unproven and under the radar talent that makes some plays during the preseason and ends up stealing a roster spot from Daniel Bellinger. I think it's possible. So I'm keeping an eye on Fidoni. That's one of my sleepers heading into the summer that I think could really turn some heads and, potentially earn a roster spot and earn a role on this team. So keep an eye on Fidoni. Joe saying, can you give your take on Bo playing center? And if that happens next season, what would happen to JMS? Backup, trade, cut. Let's see. Next season, because that's a pretty good question. Let me find. So John Michael Schmidt's next season could be cut to save a $1.6 million in cap space. I don't think that's enough of a cap relief to move on from him. He's a 2nd-round pick, so his contract isn't that pricey. I think even worst case, you're happy to hold on to him as a backup center, guy who knows the offense, who knows the culture of the team, and who has started plenty of games for you at that point. So I don't really think they would look to move on from JMS until his rookie contract does expire. But if Marcus Bo does take over as the starting center, that's not a bad thing for the Giants. Like, yes, it means that they missed on JMS. That's unfortunate as it is. But that means that they hit on a 5th-round rookie, a 5th-round draft pick in Marcus Bo, who ends up taking over a starting position. And that itself is a big dub. So I think Marcus Bo is ultimately going to try his luck at tackle. If he really struggles there, I think his traits are so projectable at guard. Like, I think he is going to be a really solid guard at the NFL level. So I don't think he needs to move all the way into center either. In fact, I think he might be, while he might be undersized for tackle for sure, maybe a little bit of guard, I think he's oversized at center in some way. So I don't know. I really like Marcus Bo, but I'm still confident that JMS can turn around because he's smart, he's strong, he's flashed a couple times in his NFL career so far. He's just struggled a lot, but As I've said before, I think a lot of his struggles, unfortunately, as has been the case for everybody, are related to the poor quarterback play. Russell Wilson being able to call protections, identify blitzers, do things at the line of scrimmage. That's taking a lot of pressure off of JMS's shoulders. Now it's on the shoulders of the quarterback who can handle it because he's a veteran. So I really like that, and I think that bodes well for JMS. Stademeyer, thank you so much for the chat saying, welcome back home, bro. Well, thank you. New season is upon us and a new opportunity for the New York Giants to improve for better results. Staying optimistic and thinking positive about our team. Listen, you and me both, because I am so positive about this team compared to where I was the last two off seasons. I think it's probably been a little bit of a shock to many of you who've viewed this channel for a long time. Obviously, you've seen me grow up because I used to be just a wee little lad in high school and then in college, and now I'm a grown adult, but you've seen me change a lot. And I think that probably one of the biggest changes that you've seen from me on this channel is the level of optimism that I have going into the season versus last year. That's probably the biggest 180 that I've done. Just because last year I was so apathetic going into the year because I just didn't believe in Daniel Jones. I didn't think he was going to come back from the ACL injury, and I didn't think he was going to play well. And unfortunately, I was right. Like, I wanted to be wrong about that, but I was right. And now here we are. We've got Russell Wilson. We've got a future in Jackson Dart. Like, I am pumped. I am positive. And if I'm more optimistic than I should be, all right, so be it. I am a Giants fan at the end of the day. So I'm going to be a fan, and I'm going to get excited to watch some good quarterback play because that's what we need. Dr. Garrett, shout out to you saying, welcome back, Anthony. Thank you very much. Definitely think our wide receiver room is underrated with how poor our quarterback and offensive line has been the past number of years. Could surprise the league this year. I agree with that. Again, I think the Giants, they didn't make a big upgrade at wide receiver this offseason, but I think they viewed Russell Wilson as their upgrade at wide receiver because he's going to upgrade the receivers that they already have. They're going to play better as a result of some competent quarterback play. So I agree with you. I think the Giants wide receiver room is underrated. I think they've got some overlooked talents. And I do think that the presence of Russell Wilson and eventually Jackson Dart is going to allow them to play a whole lot better. Pete Cho, don't know if you already addressed this, but what exactly does the 100 SPS score really mean? So I did discuss the 100 SPS score on Twitter yesterday. Tweet went kind of viral, surprisingly. Essentially, what the 100 SPS score is, if you guys missed this, I'm trying to pull it up right now. The SPS Star Predictor Score is a test that simulates the potential score of players trying to predict their success when entering the NFL. I'm going to share my screen as well here to give you guys extra context and discuss this. So Jackson Dart is the only quarterback to ever achieve a 100 SPS score. If you look at this graph, he had the 100 SPS. Lamar Jackson is tied with him with 100 all-time SPS, but in terms of a pure 100 score, Jackson Dart is the only one ever. And if you're looking at this list of the 10 highest graded SPS quarterbacks since they've been doing this tracking in 2003, they're all good players. Like Lamar Jackson is a two-time MVP. Jalen Hurts is a really good quarterback who's now won a Super Bowl. Roethlisberger, you could say the same about him. Mahomes, one of the greatest players we've ever seen. Deshaun Watson is kind of a wash here. He's a shitty human being, that's for sure, but he was a really good player before that ACL tear as a rookie. Cam Newton is an MVP who played in a Super Bowl. Kyler Murray is on this list as well. Maybe not an MVP caliber player, but has flashed that potential before. And then the last on the list, which you can't see, it's cut off here, is none other than Josh Allen. So, and also if you can't see this because it's also cut off at the bottom, but the next up is Drew Brees, a Hall of Famer. So this SPS score really seems to have a way of predicting quarterback success, like really effectively. So this is a stat that I'm new to. I've never seen the SPS score before, but I'm really intrigued by and, of course, excited about because Jackson Dart scored higher on that than anybody. But essentially, what does the SPS score mean, as you're asking? So before I actually give like my summary on it, I'll just update you guys on Thursday. We're going to have the inventor of the SPS score here live on the FSG channel. So a really exciting interview that I put together last night while I was on my plane back to the States. Got in contact with Brainy Baller, who actually created the SPS score and calculates them every year for all of the NFL prospects. He's going to be interviewing on Fireside Giants later this week. So definitely stay tuned to that. You'll get a much clearer explanation of what the SPS score is from him than I can give you right now since he invented it. But essentially, he's going to break that all down for you guys. And him and I are going to have a discussion on why we're both so confident in Jackson Dart, especially because of how well he fits with the Giants. So stay tuned to that. But essentially, in a quick summary, what I'll say is that the SPS score takes 15 different factors Among them are PFF grades, translatable traits and stats, but also it really does factor in where you're drafted to. Like Dart, I believe, would have had a score somewhere in the 80s or 90s, but because he was drafted by the Giants, which has a quarterbacks coach in Brian Dable with a great track record and has a Hall of Fame quarterback present on the roster, like these are other traits that factor into the SPS score that boost the score. Like if you think about Lamar Jackson, not only did he have rare physical traits, but he went to a team that historically drafts well in the Ravens and also had Joe Flacco as a starting quarterback who was a former Super Bowl champion. So the SPS score essentially means Dart checks all the boxes as a quarterback, and the Giants check all the boxes as an environment that can nurture a quarterback's talents. That's in summary what the SPS score indicates, and that's why Dart has a 100 perfect score, setting a new precedent and a new benchmark for all other quarterbacks in that model to reach for. But like I said, greater discussion on that coming later this week with the inventor of the model. So I'm really looking forward to that. We haven't done an interview on the channel soon, but we're going to ramp that up soon as well. If you guys remember when we spoke to TBR trainer, Justin Tuck and OC Manura's defensive line trainer, skill trainer from those Super Bowl runs. He still works in the NFL. We had him on the channel several months ago, I think at the beginning of last regular season. We're going to have him back on soon. And if you guys remember D-Backs Academy, Brian Walker, who works with Xavier McKinney, Darnay Holmes, and other former Giants. And, he's a great defensive backs coach. He's going to be coming back on the channel soon as well to discuss some of the Giants additions. So a lot of fun stuff, like I've said, planned for the channel. Really excited to get everything going for you guys. Sean saying the Italian Stallion looks massive. Is that me? Am I the Italian Stallion? I'm a little thin right now because I did so much walking and not a lot of eating as well in England. But I got to get back in the gym. Haven't been in the gym in 10 days now. So going to go right after I finish this, actually. Also not ready to give up on JMS. Who would you say our rookies pro comps are? I think Scat is kind of an Ahmad Bradshaw low key. I do see that as well. Like initially, a lot of fans were like, "Oh, he's very similar to Brandon Jacobs because he brings up power." But no, I actually think Ahmad Bradshaw brought power as well, but brings a lot of that short, tough running and receiving ability. So I think that is a pretty good comparison. I also think prime Peyton Hillis, if you remember when he randomly made a Madden cover because he had a really good season, very similar player as well. And then for the quarterback position for Jackson Dart, I'm not 100% sure who my pro comp for him is because it depends if we're looking at his ceiling, his floor, kind of in between, but I am confident in him. I don't know. Pro comps I'm not too good at. With wide receivers, I'm usually really good with them. But honestly, I'm going to have to give it some time. Once I see them play in the preseason, I'll get back to you on this for sure. I already highlighted that one. But again, not ready to give up on JMS. Agreed. QB1 Production says, the schedule comes out tomorrow. Who do you want the Giants to play week 1? That's a really good question. In fact, I wanted them to play the Cowboys, but the Cowboys are playing the Eagles to open the NFL season. The reason I wanted them to play the Cowboys is because I think the Cowboys are a team that the Giants historically, in any season that they've played well against the Cowboys, they've gone on to have success. Now, the Giants have not gotten the Cowboys number in several years, but we're all excited, right? We're optimistic this is going to be a new look Giants. It's going to be a new season for the Giants, right? We've got new vibes, new energy. So I was thinking, yeah, let's get Dallas week 1 this year, try and get that win over Dallas, and let's see if that gives us that momentum that carries us through the season, and we do go on a Cinderella story run. So I wanted it to be Dallas. It's not going to be Dallas, but that was my explanation of it. But now that it's not going to be Dallas, I'll take the easier opponent, so to speak. Like the Saints. On paper, we match up quite evenly with the Saints, so that's a very winnable game. I'll take any game that's going to give us a win in week 1. I don't want to play like the Chiefs or some sort of powerhouse in week 1. Glad we're not playing the Eagles in week 1, coming off of their Super Bowl championship. And you know what? I wouldn't mind seeing the Commanders in week 1 either. If the Giants are going to be facing a division rival, I would love for it to be the Commanders. And the reason being, the Giants have found ways to beat the Commanders in years past. Obviously, last year, not so much. Jaden Daniels was a brand new powerhouse. But hey, have we not seen quarterbacks really good as rookies hit a little bit of an early season slump going into year 2, that sophomore slump, right? So maybe that would be the time that you want to see Jaden Daniels as early in the season rather than late in the year. So that was my rationale there. So hopefully the Commanders, if not, maybe the Saints, the 49ers, one of those other teams coming off a bit of a down year. So, really looking forward to seeing the schedule tomorrow. And of course, we'll have our reactions to it live on the channel on Thursday, no doubt. Glad the Giants are not traveling overseas this year, though, because the 9 a.m. games are just a little bit annoying when having to do the live streams and everything. So, but you guys won't see a bright and early 9 a.m. live stream for me this season because the Giants aren't going overseas. And Sean, yes, the SPS score was built for fantasy football. That's essentially what it was made for. And that's its original intention. But if you look at it, it has kind of developed as a model into something that predicts not only fantasy football success, but really it predicts NFL success as well, which is really interesting. So a model that has not gotten buzz, but again, I'm really excited to discuss it with the inventor of the model soon enough. Trenton, our resident Eagles fan that likes to tune in, unfortunate as it may be, he is an Eagles fan, but he is a great viewer and supporter of Fireside Giants. So, Trenton, thank you for tuning in on your lunch break. Thanks so much. And Jalen Hurts clears, maybe for now, but eventually, this man over here, he'll be clearing. He'll be clearing. I believe it. Pete Cho thinks they'll play the Commanders in week 1. Division games usually fall in the same week. Yes, you are right about that. So I do think there is a pretty good chance that the Giants play the Commanders. And like I said, I think that would be a really good matchup to kick off the season. And yes, it is a projected fantasy football stat. It is, I think, primarily for Dynasty. And hopefully he won't be playing this year, correct. But this is taken into account. The reason he's scoring so high on this is taking into account that he's not going to play much this year. That's why this SPS star predictor system is so unique and so interesting. And again, why I'm really excited to discuss it with the creator of it, because it takes into account factors like that for fantasy football. Like if you're drafting Cam Ward, well, he's stepping into an environment where he has to start right away and doesn't have a great supporting cast around him. So of course he's lower on the scale than a Giants quarterback stepping into an environment with a Hall of Fame mentor and a good quarterbacks coach and Dable. So it's a very interesting model that takes all those factors into account, calculates them for fantasy, yes, but also it's been a great predictor of just NFL success. And it does factor in the fact that he won't be playing this year for dynasty reasons. So really, really interesting stuff. Again, excited to go ahead and speak with Brainy Ballers. That's his name. Alan White saying, great to have you back. Hey, great to be back. And thank you for tuning in. Scat is short. We need a better nickname for him. Yeah, what is the nickname for Scataboo? What are we liking here? I've seen a lot of people calling it chocolate and vanilla is the Giants running backs room. It's kind of funny. I kind of like it. Thunder and lightning, I think, is more appropriate. We should call Scataboo Bo, but it's Boo at the end. So are we going to call him Boo? Maybe we call him Boo. Maybe we call him Scataboo. We'll see. Let's see. That's a good point, Pete. We did get smashed by Dallas in the regular season of the 07 year. But I do remember that 2011 season when the Giants swept to Dallas and went on to win the Super Bowl. Remember that game? JPP blocks that kick. That was electric. But then how about it's Giants versus Cowboys? Winner goes into the playoffs. A loser goes home. And the Giants, Victor Cruz in the first quarter with a 65-yard catch and run touchdown. And the Giants are marching into the playoffs with a full head of steam. One of the best moments that I've seen. So very, very good stuff. I would have liked to see the Giants play Dallas week 1. And I'm really hoping, God, can we please just beat Dallas once this year? At least once. You know, if it's not twice, all right, but at least once. Trenton saying Jaden Daniels' sophomore slump will feed families. I can't wait to watch him flame out. Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to have a sophomore slump. But again, like I said, it's possible because a lot of quarterbacks do. That's why I'm hoping that we do play him in week 1, just because that might be the time where he might be a little bit vulnerable. But ultimately, we'll see. I think he's going to be really good. Guy has a lot of talent and has some good talent around him too. Hey, Trenton, if the Giants do finish second in the division this year, we are going to be very happy here in Fireside Giants because that means we probably won at least 7 games, and that is huge. I can't go through another 3 or 5 win season, like one where we limp to 5 wins. Like if we're competitive all the way and we unfortunately end with 5 wins, all right, I guess. If we get a 7-win season, my God, I would be so happy. I'm so tired. I saw this stat, and this is something I got to say because a lot of Giants fans are always like, we're going to win some games this year, but we're not going to be picking high enough for quarterback next year. We're not going to get a top 10 talent. This is stupid. We should tank. Listen to me, guys. No team in the NFL has more top 10 picks over the last 10 years taken than the New York Giants. That's right. They have made more top 10 selections than anybody. And where has that gotten them? They're still picking top 10 every single year. So the truth is, a lot of people say you don't want to be in the middle of the NFL. That's purgatory. You're in quarterback hell at that point. That's not true, and it never has been true. Teams like the Chiefs were mid, and then all of a sudden got Mahomes, and he stepped in, and they became powerhouses. The Eagles as well. The Ravens as well. A lot of these teams that hung in and were playoff teams but didn't have enough then got the quarterback into the lineup. Hopefully that's Jackson Dart, and then they became Super Bowl contenders. Essentially, my point being, picking top 10 every year does not fix your team. It's very rare that a top 10 pick actually steps in and just changes the course of your franchise. That's not going to happen. It's very rare that it does. I know it just happened with Jaden Daniels, so we all look at that. And yeah, to an extent, it happened with the Texans as well with CJ Stroud, but it's very rare. So you don't want to be picking top 10 every year. In fact, you'd rather be picking in the middle of the first round because it means you have a good team and now you're just a piece away. But picking in the top 10 means you have a lot of pieces left to fill. So no team has more top 10 picks than the Giants, which is why they need to stop picking top 10. It doesn't change things. We need to stop being so excited for the draft every year. And this year, I'm hoping we're picking like 20, and nobody cares who we draft in the first round all that much because that means that the Giants are a competitive team and they're just a piece or so away, and Dart could step in 2026 and be that piece. Colton saying, how does our roster compare to the Steelers last year, where Russ took them to the playoffs? That's a really good question. I'm going to look at their lineup and try and compare it. I think they had a comparable receiving core to us. We have a better number one receiver. I think Malik Neighbors is a better player than George Pickens, for sure. I think our running back room is really comparable. Najee Harris plus Jaylen Warren is honestly very similar to Tyrone Tracy Jr. and Cam Scatterbo. They have a better tight end. Pat Freiermuth is a really good player. On the offensive line, they had one of the worst tackles in the league. If we're healthy, I actually think that our offensive line can be better than what theirs was last year. But really what this boils down to, how does the roster compare? I'd rather actually compare the coaches, because I think that roster that the Steelers had last year, it was good enough to make it to the playoffs. The coaching and the play calling from Arthur Smith in particular was just atrocious. He's a terrible offensive coordinator. I don't understand why he still has that job with the Steelers. But I think that Brian Daboll is going to be able to get more out of Russell Wilson. So I think the rosters are pretty comparable. But I think the coaching should actually be better for the Giants. I know a lot of fans aren't confident in Daboll or don't believe in Kafka, question what he even does here. I understand these concerns, but ultimately I like that combo of Kafka and Daboll a whole lot better than Arthur Smith. So I think that Russell Wilson could find quite a bit of success with this offense. Cannonball Cam is cool. I like that. Shout out to you, Sean. That's a cool one. Right? I'm so tired of picking top 10. Let's be competitive this year. I mean, listen, like if you were a Falcons fan last year, how could you not be excited about that? Like you were, I get it. You were mid-team. The Kirk Cousins thing, it ended up being a disaster. Oh, well, you drafted a quarterback and now you've got a future and you still managed to win 7 games and miss the playoffs by 2 total wins. They were competitive. They picked in the 20s. They went like a madman, made 2 picks in the first round. And yeah, I know Trenton, like you're saying, they're butt cheeks, but you also are rooting for the team that won the Super Bowl. So it's kind of hard to compare. But what I'm essentially saying is the Falcons are not a Super Bowl team, but they're good enough to be competitive in December. Like they were playing games that mattered in the 12th month of a year. The Giants haven't done that other than the 2022 season, they've barely ever done that over the last 10 years. So if we can be a team akin to what the Falcons were last year, but this season, where we win about 7 games and we narrowly miss the playoffs, we'll have confidence going into the 2026 offseason that we are close and we're just a quarterback away, and that quarterback is going to be Jackson Dart. So I don't want to be picking top 10 next year. And I'm not begging to be a Super Bowl contender this year because I know realistically we're not going to be. But can we just be like the Falcons? I know that sounds crazy, but think about it. You'd rather just be a good team that's a quarterback away from being a great team than a terrible team picking top 10 once again that once again needs to fire everybody and blow it up. I don't want to be talking about that next offseason. I know that I advocated hard to clean house this past offseason. I don't want to make that advocation again this upcoming year. I want Joe Shane and Brian Daboll to succeed. I want this team to be good. So if we get to there by, winning 7-ish games, and then the following year Jackson Dart steps in and we win 11, thank you. That's exactly what I'm looking for. So there's worse teams to be than the Falcons right now. And fortunately enough, I think the Giants are positioned quite well to be pretty similar to the 2024 Falcons, where they win 7, 8 games, narrowly miss the playoffs, and boom, that's good. Sean saying I have to head to work. Let's go Giants. Scatterboo! Cheers, my Giants fam. Cheers to you, Sean. Thank you for tuning in. Have a good day over at work, and see you in the next live stream, my man. Much appreciate you and all of the support that you show to this channel. Right, like I agree. 6 wins, maybe cutting it close, but 7 wins, I think John Mara keeps everybody in place if the Giants pick up 7 wins for sure. I mean, anything is better than 3 wins last year. It was like literally the worst that the Giants ever did. They've had 3 wins twice in franchise history, 2017 and 2024, worst seasons of their franchise history, 100 years of it. So just pick up 6, 7, 8 wins somewhere in that cluster. Again, just play a game in December that matters, a game that has playoff implications in December. And the Giants, everybody will keep their jobs. That's all we need to see. Trenton's rooting for the Giants, not over the Eagles, but dad and brother Giants fans want them to be happy again. I appreciate and respect that of you, Trenton. And you know what? I will never root for the Eagles. Never once. But I will say this. If you've ever seen the movie Silver Linings Playbook, I'm sure many of you have, with Bradley Cooper, Jennifer Lawrence, Robert De Niro's in it. It's a really, really great movie. I was watching that on the plane yesterday, flying back from London. And I'll just say that's a very Eagles movie because Bradley Cooper and De Niro, the whole family, they're Eagles fans. So I love that movie. That was just off topic. We talked about the Eagles for a second. I had to bring that up. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, totally recommend it. I believe J. Law won the Oscar for it. So really, really good movie. And yeah, Trenton's seen it. So shout out to you. Antonio with a good question. How do I feel the Giants defense compared to Pittsburgh? As great as our defensive line is, they do have TJ Watt and a couple other dogs on the defensive line. So you'd probably have to argue that their defensive line last year was better just because ours is a little unproven, right? Abdul Carter, we all are pretty confident he's going to be like an all-pro level talent, but we got to see it. We got to see it first. So I think that their defense just ultimately top to bottom was better. They've got a good secondary. Joey Porter Jr. is essentially what we wanted Deonte Banks to be. And I know a lot of Giants fans wanted Porter Jr. in that draft class. So that kind of stings. They've got an elite safety, Minkah Fitzpatrick. They've got a really good defense. I'd say we're pretty close, but theirs is a little bit better just because ours is a little bit unproven. But this year, if we end up totaling 65 sacks with Abdul Carter putting up 12 and Burns putting up 10 and, Dexter Lawrence putting up 10 and 10 from, Kayvon. But I think our defense can be better. However, I do think on paper, you have to give the edge to the Steelers just because they're a little bit more experienced. Stadameyer saying if we can improve run offense, run defense, third down conversion, and red zone, the Giants will have more wins and remain competitive. Now, that is a lot of things to improve upon, but you're right. I do think the run defense is going to be bolstered by the Giants' addition of Abdul Carter. Nobody talks about how good of a run defender he is, but he's great in that regard. Darius Alexander is a great pickup as well. I think Bobby Okereke will play better this year now that he's got a decent defensive line in front of him, right? Run offense, I think, is going to be better because the Giants' offensive line should be healthier, and they've got a 1-2 punch that we like, and they've got a quarterback who can threaten. And the red zone, again, the quarterback and additions there are going to make a big difference. So I think the Giants will improve in all of these facets of the game, and if they don't, well, we're in for another long year. But yeah, I think they are going to be a lot more competitive this season, that's for sure. Winding down now, less than 10 minutes left in the live stream. Just a heads up for any of you who want to fire in some rapid fire, last minute questions, fourth quarter questions, or chats, super chats, whatever you want. Just letting you know. Going to be wrapping it up in about 10 or so minutes. Reason being, still wiped from my 24-hour travel day yesterday. And we actually did record an episode, Alex and I, of Fireside Giants right before I went live. So we've got a doubleheader coming your way for the members. It'll be posted later today for members and live on the channel tomorrow. So make sure that you do stay tuned for that. Let's see. Tyrone Tracy and Scatterboo, cookies and cream. Again, I really like that. I think it's fun. Colton saying, I saw Kafka was calling plays in rookie minicamp. What are your thoughts, and who do you think calls plays this year? My thoughts are that it's very early, right? And they're not really calling plays. He had the walkie-talkie and he was calling some plays, but keep in mind that rookie minicamp, it's a long ways away from the regular season. And that's a decision that Brian Daboll did say won't be made until preseason. They're probably going to do what they did last year, where Daboll calls a game, then Kafka calls a game, and then they probably share the play calling duties for the final game and determine, hey, who did better, who performed better, and go from there. And obviously that's going to require a lot of good feedback from the players as well, especially the quarterbacks. So it doesn't mean much to me right now, but if I had to guess who calls the plays, I think it's going to be Daboll. Back against the wall, you finally got your quarterbacks that you have conviction in. You better be calling the plays, is kind of how I see it. But then again, him and John Mara had a conversation, and the idea of him potentially not calling plays was brought up. So we'll see. I think it's going to be Daboll, but there is a chance that it's Kafka once again. The best offense that we saw from the Daboll-led Giants was in 2022 when Kafka was calling plays. So either way, I'm here for it. I'm excited for this offense regardless. And I think both of these guys have more to work with on the offensive side of the ball in terms of the player personnel. So, but we'll see. I think we're going to get a better idea of who's calling plays closer into the summer. Yeah, I know Trey Hendricks is available. And D-Bar, thank you for the chat. But I wouldn't do this, and I don't think it's reasonable for the Giants to do this because of the salary cap. As we said earlier, the Giants have $1.1 million in available cap space right now. Yes, they have a lot of future cap space available, but you don't really want to eat all that into the defensive line again, because the Giants paid a lot of money for Burns, paid a lot of money for Dexter Lawrence, and Abdul Carter in a few years is going to be due for a huge contract as well if he's as good as we think he's going to be. So having Hendricks on the books as well, you got to start spending the money elsewhere as well. So I think you got to throw some money into the receiving core instead. I'd rather trade for a receiver that's disgruntled somewhere who wants to make an impact. I think that would make more sense. But the Giants just don't have any cap space right now. So Hendricks won't make sense in my opinion. Good player, but just won't be a Giant. We'll see where he goes, though. Hopefully he does not wind up with the Commanders or somebody else in the division. That would suck. Reggie saying Burns and Thibodeau on the edge and Abdul Carter roaming the outside linebacker may be the best way to keep them on the field at the same time. Yeah, so in the Giants defense, though, when they're running 3-4, the outside linebackers are the edge rushers. But when they move into 4-3, then the outside linebacker does play more of an off-ball traditional linebacker role. So it just kind of depends. I think what we're going to see a lot of is the Giants playing some nickel where all four of the defensive linemen, like the NASCAR package, are the pass rushers, and they just kind of move them around. What I really envision for Carter, though, is a play style similar to Micah Parsons, where he just lines up all over the place. He's going to play inside linebacker. He's going to play outside linebacker. He's going to play defensive lineman. They're just going to move him everywhere. They will find ways to get all these guys on the field at the same time. Thibodeau might see his snaps reduced, but it's not going to be reduced all the way down to like 40%. He'll still probably play 65% of snaps this season because the Giants are going to find themselves facing a lot of third downs and fourth downs from opposing teams because they're going to be pushing them back and getting some sacks and some pressure. So Thibodeau is going to get his fair amount of games or snaps played this season, as well as Burns and Carter. Candyman saying, welcome back, Anthony. Check out my picture. Retirement gift, LT signed jersey, proudly hanging on my wall in Costa Rica. Candyman, you are the man. And that is awesome. Your profile picture is sick. Lawrence Taylor, the GOAT of the New York Giants, the greatest defensive player of all time. And what a hell of a retirement gift you received. So congrats to you on your retirement once again. Shout out to you and thank you for all the support that you've shown this channel. Love the new profile picture. Love the framed picture of LT and very happy for you. That's a really great collector's piece. Really awesome stuff. Eli saying this is Eli McCracken. Let me not skip over that awesome last name. Eli McCracken saying this is the most excited I've been, even more than last year's camp when DJ was getting in fights and we all thought we were back. Yeah, I wasn't super excited for DJ last year. I mean, I might have gotten excited for the DJ fights and other things because I talked myself into it because I'm a Giants fan, and also I got to be excited because, here I am on the live streams. But I can tell you this, I am genuinely excited this year. Like, I am really, really excited to watch Russell Wilson throw the ball for the Giants and obviously for Jackson Dart. Like, I'm going to be going to at least one preseason game this year. That's a fact because I can't wait to watch Jackson Dart play. So I'm going to go ahead, whether he's starting in the second game or the third game, whatever it is. And of course, before I go, I'll let you guys all know. So in case you're going to, maybe we'll do some sort of a tailgate meetup in MetLife Stadium's parking lot, whatever. But like, I'm genuinely so excited for the Giants this year. I know that we're probably at best a 7 or 8 win team at best. And that's so much better than the 3 wins that we got last year and the 5 wins the year prior, or 6, whatever the hell it was. So yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm super excited, way more than last year. Last year I was very apathetic, especially in week 1. After that happened, I was like, I already know how this year is going to go. But I'm with you, man. Eli McCracken, super excited. Dart's probably going to get 4 quarters of playing time. I think I was discussing this on one of my Bleacher Report live streams. If you guys don't tune into those, I'm live on Bleacher Report every Wednesday and Friday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern. Usually tomorrow it'll be at 8 p.m. because it'll be to react to the schedule, which drops at 8 p.m. Eastern. But make sure you tune into those because some really good conversations there as well. But I think Dart probably plays 1 quarter in one of the preseason games, 1 quarter in another preseason game, and then 2 quarters in one of the 3 preseason games. So a total of 4 quarters, 1 full game from him. And they'll try and get him in different situations, 2-minute drills at the end of the half and those kind of things. So I think we get 4 quarters of Dart, essentially 1 full game, but split across the 3. Kyle saying, I'd love to hear your opinion around how you see this roster as a whole. BBB did an analysis comparing the roster at the start of the Shane Dable to now. Very interesting. I'll say this. Last year, the roster that the Giants had was much worse than the one that the Giants inherited in 2022, which was shocking to me because Dave Gettleman didn't build a good roster. So the fact that it got worse over those 2 years was really, really an indictment on Shane and Dable. But I think now, this is a much better roster than the one in 2023 for sure, and arguably 2022 as well, because listen, the quarterback is just going to change everything about this team. Like having competent quarterback play is going to do everything. So in terms of my analysis and opinion of the roster as a whole, I think this is a good roster. It's not a great roster, but it's about league average, and it's pushing higher depending on whether or not these young players take steps. So it's kind of hard because a lot of it is projection, right? We're projecting Carter to be this absolute stud. We're projecting Russell Wilson to be an upgrade, but we've got to see it in the flesh. So, but right now I do think it's an improvement. Pre-schedule record prediction, probably going to go 7-9 this year. I think I projected 5 wins last year on the optimistic side because I really thought they were going to be terrible. I know that I projected 5, but I think that was also an optimistic projection for me is what I was saying. But I'm going to go 7 wins as a safe bet this year. I think the Giants are going to push for 7. Who do you think leads the team in sacks this year? I think it's going to be Burns. I think Carter's going to come close. I think they're going to be neck and neck for a lot of it. But I think that Burns has never had this kind of talent around him on the defensive line, and he's just so damn talented, just hasn't been able to push himself to that next level because he hasn't had those guys around him. But Burns is really, really good. Like, if you watch the highlights, or if you watch the games live on the broadcast, you can't exactly see what Burns does, but like TBR trainer, the guy who coaches Justin Tuck and everybody who I was mentioning earlier, when I watched all 22 with him, I mean, he is a professional at watching all 22 and breaking down film for defensive linemen. It's what he does for a living. I mean, he was really opening my eyes to how good of a player Brian Burns was. He was like all the little things that you're never going to see on the broadcast. He was able to pick those and highlight them for me. He is really, really good. Like, Burns does not get enough credit from Giants fans, but he's going to get it this year. I think he's going to lead the team in sacks. So Hot Nickels, Dart probably sits for the majority of the year, if not the whole year. But I do think if the Giants, let's say, like I said, I think they're going to be competitive most of the year. I think they're going to play meaningful games in December. But let's imagine that they get eliminated week 15. 16, 17, and 18, you should expect to see Jackson Dart play. The Giants are going to want some film on Dart going into next year, whether that's film that a new regime is going to be evaluating. Let's say the Giants are really bad this year, then they got to get Dart on the field because they need some film for the next regime to come in and evaluate. Let's say that they're close, but they're not quite playoff level team, so they get eliminated with 3, 4, 5 weeks to go. Those weeks are going to be reserved for Jackson Dart, and he should play those games because he needs the experience and he needs the film. Like, it's very important for him to have footage of him playing the game at the NFL level to learn from. So I would love for him to sit the entire season because it means that the Giants made the playoffs with Russell Wilson as their starting quarterback, and that's great. However, if they do not make the playoffs, we need to see Jackson Dart. Like, we can't bubble wrap him just for the sake of saying he sat his whole year so he's fully prepared next year. There is an element of experience that comes into play, but there is the necessity to have some film on him to properly evaluate him, the roster, how he performed at the NFL level, and make a proper evaluation going into the offseason. So I do expect to see Dart at some point this season because I don't expect the Giants to make the playoffs. I expect them to be closer to the playoffs than they were last year, of course. but I don't expect them to make it at the end of the day. And so for that reason, I think we are going to see a handful of starts from Jackson Dart. And I'll wrap up these final questions before wrapping up the live stream. Colton saying, tuning in from Montana. Shout out to you. That's a long ways away from where I am here in South Florida, from where most viewers are in New York. But so cool, man, that the Giants, such a big fan base. So many of you viewing from all across the world. It's so cool to me. Really hope the Giants will get that many primetime games against good teams. Yeah, it's a shame because back when Eli Manning was the quarterback, I loved primetime games because he was so good on primetime. Like, remember that fourth quarter comeback versus the 49ers? Fired that strike in a tight window to Larry Donnell of all people for the game winner. Eli came to play in the fourth. Haven't had that with Daniel Jones. Worst primetime record ever for a starting quarterback, as we all know. But you know what? I'd like to see the Giants get a few primetime games. We'll see ultimately whether or not they do. But if they do, they better show up and they better show out. Like, I got to see some good performances under the bright lights this year. Cannot live through this Daniel Jones plague any longer. Hot Nichols saying we need to build up the offensive line before Dart comes in, start developing bad habits. Yeah, I mean, listen, let's say the offensive line is ravaged with injuries. You probably don't want to put Dart in, even if it is the end of the year. But again, they got to get film on him at the end of the year. So, and also the offensive line might be a lot better this year because quarterback play has a lot to do with offensive line play. They're interconnected. So we'll see how the offensive line does this year. They just need to stay healthy. If they're healthy, I think they'll be above average. They'll be about average. They'll be decent. All right, and now, final chat before I do wrap this up. Once again, guys, thank you all for tuning in. But Lamont Lewis saying the tight end room will be the most interesting room this offseason. Yeah, we were hitting on that in the first half of this live stream. Daniel Bellinger is on the roster bubble because cutting him would save the Giants $3.4 million. And they did draft Fidone, and they do have Theo Johnson, who they really believe in. They've got Chris Manhertz, who they like as a backup. So the tight end room is going to be a very interesting battle, I believe, when we get to training camp, because Daniel Bellinger essentially needs to prove he's better than Fidone, a better football player than Fidone, and arguably a better player than Theo Johnson, just to save his job and keep his status as a rostered player before getting cut as a cap casualty. So the tighter end room is going to be a sneaky, exciting room to watch this offseason, particularly during the summer in training camp and preseason. So definitely tuning into that. And of course, as we get closer to the training camp period, we're going to be doing roster battles to watch, sleepers to watch, players to keep an eye on, breakout candidates, all of that fun stuff here on the channel. So really excited for it. And Kevin, before we log off, said already predicting Sunday Night Football or Thursday Night Football versus Washington. I believe that will be late in the year. I think the Giants late in the year are going to get a primetime game versus Washington because the schedule makers are going to realize Dart probably doesn't play early on, but he could potentially get some starts at the end of the year. And what better than a rivalry primetime matchup between Dart and Jaden Daniels? That's how the Giants, or how the NFL schedule makers probably want to align it. So I think we see Dart later in the year. And again, I think that those are going to be later in the year matchups, the primetime ones, because they know that that's a possibility. But all right. Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream. Did a full hour and some change here. First live stream coming back from my vacation to England. Like I said, there will be a members-only video up later today that will then be public for everybody else tomorrow. Stay tuned to the channel for that. Consider joining if you want to support the channel through membership. It's a big help for all of us. But really, if you don't want to do that, you can't do that, that's fine. Don't worry about it. As you saw today, just spoke with everybody in the live chat, not a bunch of supers. Always here to just interact with everybody in the community, regardless of how much you do or don't give, because we're just appreciative of all of your support nevertheless. And so make sure you do stay tuned. Thank you all for tuning in. And hey, if you really want to support us, like I said earlier, just smash the like button. That's free. It takes 1 second and it's super easy to do. And it does help the channel a ton. So again, guys, thank you all for tuning in. Always having a fun time talking Giants with you, and looking forward to more live streams on the channel in the coming days and coming weeks and months. The train is just leaving the station. Make sure you hop on, get your ticket round trip, and make it back for the regular season as well. So once again, thank you all for tuning in. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. Comment thoughts down below. If you listen on Apple or Spotify, make sure you leave us a 5-star review. Go ahead and follow us on all our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, I'll catch you all on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go, New York Giants.